years. The guitar is 47 years old. I'm a real old guy, you know. This is my guitar and I've had it for 47 years. So I introduced her. Her name is Excalibur. She's a marvelous guitar. She's a lovely guitar. And I am Robin. Well, I'm going to tell you a little story now. So I'll put Excalibur away for a moment. Okay. About 3 weeks ago, I received an email from United International Business School, which is a global business school where I teach as a lecturer. And they said, Robin, we'd like to offer you a title. And the title they wished to offer me was Professor Emeritus. So they offered me the title of Professor Emeritus. Would I accept it? Certainly. So I accepted it. Whoa. And then I went, so I sent back my reply. And then I went down 4 or 5 emails later, deeper into my emails, and there was this one from the Stad Antwerpen. And this is a beginning as a straatmuzikant. Ik ben een straatmuzikant. So I'm a Professor Emeritus, and I'm also a busker, a street musician as well. My wife said, that's my life. She says, that's you. Professor Emeritus, street musician. It fits together. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Get some water here. Great. So the title of our talk is Busking the Desert. What's a busker? It comes from a French word, busquer, which is prowler, means to prowl. And there's a tradition in the 11th century that the aristocrats of Provence in France used to go out with the musical instruments and they would tour the countryside and they would troubadour. They would move about and they'd play around the cities and the towns, and they would make their way and have a really good time. And that tradition is still alive here in Europe. And I know it because I lived that tradition myself, and I'm going to tell you a story about that in a bit. Busker then, the word busker is a street musician, a street artist, okay? And the desert, why busking the desert? Well, they say that every person should spend at least 7 years in the desert, in the Woestijn. And in that desert, in that time in the desert, you will get centered, you'll discover your soul, you will discover who you are, and you will discover also who you are not. And you'll learn to use your intuition. Intuition is when you start to listen to your mind rather than talking to it. And in order to listen to your mind, you've got to go somewhere quiet. And that's what the desert is about. I've done my time. I did 7 years in the desert, in the Woestijn, as a straatmuzikant here in Europe. And I'm going to tell you my story, and I'll tell you a few of the things I picked up, which maybe is going to help you guys with your particular journey. Okay, so it's that's why it's called Busking in the Desert. From 1973 to 1980, I was a senior lecturer at the University of East London. This is a long time ago, long before you guys were born. I was a senior lecturer at London University. But in 1980, I went to Brussels. And I've always been a musician. It kind of runs in my family. I started playing the guitar. I started playing the piano when I was 6. And I've always been into music, and my dad was a musician and so on. Music kind of runs in our family. But I always wanted to play in the street. I don't know why, I just had this feeling. So in 1980, I was in Brussels, and I went into the Galerie Louise, Avenue Louise, which is a very chic part of Brussels, with my guitar, with Excalibur actually, with my guitar. And I went into the gallery. It's a long story, but eventually I played. I got the courage to do it, and I sat and I played for 40 minutes. And people would put a lot of paper and coins in my case. Now, ik ben een Engelsman, I'm an English guy. I didn't know what Belgian money was worth. I put my guitar on top of my case, went back to where I was staying, and all the people said, "How did you do, Rob?" You know? I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "I did it," and I said, "People seem to like it." Well, they did. The shopkeepers were coming out and putting money in. People seemed to like it, and they said, "Well, let's see, what did you get?" So I lifted the guitar, and they all went, "Wow," and they dived in at all this money. There was loads of money in the case. They counted it out, and it was 1,400 Belgian francs in 40 minutes. Okay? That's about 35 euros, but this is 1980. So it's equivalent to maybe 150 euros now. So I made 150 euros first time I went street singing, right? In 40 minutes. And I thought, bloody hell, this is a job, you know? This is a job. So I get back home to England. I resign my vast presumed senior lectureship. I quit my job. I sold my 4-bedroom house in London, which is worth £1 million now, but I sold it for peanuts. And I gave my library away to my students. And I went on the road with a guitar as a Stadtmusikant. And I went on the road for 7 years. Okay? And that's my desert. That was my desert. And, but basically, I discovered something. And this is what I want to tell you guys. I discovered I had a talent as a street singer. I had a talent as a busker. When I sing, people give me money. Okay, that's a talent. You all have got a talent. Every one of you has got a particular talent, or several. Talent is what you can do, and you don't remember learning it. Remember that. Think about yourselves now. You're starting your professional lives or your careers. You're starting your adult lives now. Think about, and make it, the world tells you what you're good at. The world tells you what your talent. Talent is what you're good at, and you don't remember learning it. So that's kind of the second point I want to make here. Okay? Think, for you guys, think about, what am I naturally good at? What do I do? Am I the kind of person, are you the kind of person when you walk into the room, everybody smiles? Because there are people like that. Sunshine type of people. If you are, then go into sales, public relations, some kind of communications, human resource management, because people like you. You know, are you one of these types of people that people take very seriously? If you are, go into law or go into some kind of judgmental type profession where people, or go into news reporting, you know? So in other words, what you've got to do, you guys, for the 21st century is link up who you really are, what you really are, with what you do for a living. And if you do that, you'll never ever be short of work. Okay? We live in a different world now to the world that I grew up in. There's going to be loads of work as long as you're connected and centered. That would be another lecture. Okay. So I want to try and help you on your journey, tell you a few things I learned. That's from Rory Graham, the Rag and Bone Man. Great guy. Fantastic. Him and his dad put that song together. But that song talks about blame. And that's the second thing. I've talked about talent. I want to talk to you now about blame. If you blame people, if you point the finger and say, "Oh, I can't do it, it's because of the government, or it's because of my parents, or it's because of those horrible people down the road, or it's his fault, not my fault." If you blame other people, what you do is you give control of that situation to them. In other words, you disempower yourself. So what I'm saying to you is, don't blame other people for anything. Anything that happens to you, it's your own bloody fault. And once you can accept that, you take responsibility, you take the ability to be able to respond to that situation. You have to swallow a bitter pill, but once you accept responsibility for everything that happens to you and stop blaming other people, you empower yourself, strangely enough. Okay? I've been on the street, and I know exactly what I'm talking about. You teach other people how to treat you. If people treat you badly, it's your own fault. You teach them that. You let them get away with that. You know? So really simple stuff. When I'm playing on the street, people can see me as a beggar. If they see me as a beggar, then what I get is the old ladies come over with charity money and they drop brown coins, cents into my case. or they see you as a street artist, and that's when people start giving you a totally different type of reception. But it all depends on you, and it's here, it's your attitude as well. Self-confidence is learning to keep out of your own way. What we tend to do is we tend to sabotage ourselves. So third thing from me, learn to keep out of your own way. Stop blocking yourself. Just go and do it. Take a chance and do it. Jump in. I went 100% on my trip. Now the other thing about that, the other thing about blame, when you sing on the street, people can hear your heart. Beggars show their heart. Beggars are there to take. Beggars are there to get stuff. When you sing a song on the street, people can hear their heart. When I listen to Celine Dion, I'm not listening to her technique, I'm listening to her heart and to her soul, and that's what communicates to me. It's the same on the street. If you go on the street and you're hungry for money, they'll hear it in your voice, and you'll get the brown money off the old ladies. But if you go there not to sing a song, but to sing under the influence of a song, and you go there to give, not to take, but you go to give, that's when people put paper in your case. That's when you get 1,400 francs in 40 minutes. You know? So think about that next time you go to a meeting. Don't go there to get stuff, go there to give. And it's going to change, it's going to change the way other people think about you, okay? And the way other people react to you, so go to give. And that's the difference between an artist and a beggar. An artist goes to give, a beggar goes to take. And that's why beggars are down there and artists are up here. It's really simple stuff. And you learn it, I learned it on the street, and I hope it makes sense to you. So go to give. Another thing is, don't try to be famous. You know, I've never tried to be famous. I did once. I went in for your Vara Song Festival once because some friends put me in for it, and I got second prize in 1989 in the Dutch Vara Song Festival with a couple of my own songs. But I've never courted fame. I don't want fame. I like being invisible. Now I'll give you a tip. If you want to be invisible as a street performer or just walking about, then there's a really simple rule, and we all do it. Wear a hat. If you wear a hat, you walk in and you do your gig, whatever it is, and the police tell you to move on, or the policeman recognizes you and he's told you to move on 3 days ago, right? Then all you've got to do to disappear in a crowd is you just take the hat off. And that's why you see a lot of street people. I picked up some street sus when I was doing this. Wear a hat. And that gives you a choice. You can disappear in a crowd by just taking the hat off. It's really simple. But that's also about my idea about no fame, being invisible. Learning to move between things. Another thing as a street singer, you're an outlaw. I was 7 years on the road, okay, and it's basically I was illegal in Belgium a lot. I was illegal in most of the countries I went to because I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't carry money, but my guitar, I can go out and I can make what I need in half an hour, dead easy, you know. So I never carried money, which makes me illegal in most European countries because I didn't have the compulsory, I don't know what it is these days, 500 euros or something in your wallet. Okay, so when you're an outlaw, when you live outside of the law, I'm not a criminal at all, definitely not a criminal, but I've associated with criminals, and there are good criminals and bad criminals. You meet them down on the street. The bad ones, you avoid. When you're an outlaw, you don't have a goal. You know, people keep telling you this American idea, what's going to be your goal in 5 years? Well, when you've got no power on the street, when you're powerless and you have no goal because there's nothing you can do about it. Like in Africa, goals don't mean much to people that are living out in the bush. Goals don't mean much to people in Australia, the Aborigines of Australia. They don't set goals. What they do is what the animals do. The other strategy is to avoid limits, and that's what you can do when you're on the street. You avoid bad people, you avoid bad situations, and you learn to walk away from trouble. Rather than basically, you don't try to be right. You try to move away and avoid things. So what I'm saying to you guys is, basically, avoid limits. Start thinking about, what do I want to avoid? People in Intel Corporation hate failure. They're not going after success. They are going to avoid failure. It's another leg of strategy. But you won't find it in typical American management books. They're all about realize your own goal. Well, I'm saying there's another strategy as well, which is avoid all the bad stuff. And when you're on the street, that's the way you move about. Basically, little rule, put your energy into what you're for, not what you're against. Don't waste time on stuff that you're against. Walk away from that. People that are negative to you, walk away from them. Put your energy into the people that are for you. Put your energy into what you're for, not what you're against. And learn to walk away. And then one very important thing I want to tell you, life does not give you what you want. Life gives you what you're prepared to accept. Really simple. Life doesn't give you what you want. Forget the goal stuff. If you're prepared to accept being second class, being a failure, people treating you badly, if you're prepared to accept that, that's what life's going to give you. If you're not prepared to accept that, if you're only prepared to accept being number one or being successful at what you do, becoming your own best, that's what life will also give you. So life does not give you what you want. Life gives you what you're prepared to accept. And I'm saying to you guys, don't accept bad stuff. Only accept the best. And of course that leads me to the Winston Churchill quote, never ever quit. Don't quit, never give up. If you quit, there is no failure if you don't quit. If you just keep on, there is no such thing as failure, so don't quit. So this is kind of these are motivational things, but these are things I've learned on the street. I hope that they're ringing some bells for you guys. Okay. I've got another 3 or 4. Attitude. How should you think when you're in a situation like this? It's really easy, guys. You go where you look. If you're looking for trouble, you're going to see trouble. You're going to find trouble. If you're looking for opportunity, you're going to find opportunity. If someone says to you, there's no place to park in Bradar, and you're driving your car, if you believe them, you're driving your car, you're looking for no place to park in Bradar, and you will see no place to park everywhere in Bradar. You go where you look. If, on the other hand, and I'll give you a tip, it's always the first place as you just enter the parking, because nobody is looking at that. There's always a place there, just as you go in. If you're looking for space and opportunity, and you're driving around looking for space and opportunity, that's what you're going to see in Bradar. So it starts here. You go where you look. Start thinking about how you think. How you've been programmed in life. Have you been programmed to look at the negative stuff, the critical stuff, or have you been programmed to look at the good stuff, the appreciative stuff? It's really important. I know guys on the street. We had a guy called Miserable Mick, and he used to take vitamins and stuff like that. And he was so mean, he'd be standing by the cathedral. We also called him Mumbling Mick. Nobody could hear him. He was so mean he wouldn't even let his voice out, you know. And that guy was getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and eventually he had to go back to England. You know, he just couldn't, he didn't make it. Miserable Mick. Miserable bastard. Okay. Okay, I'm coming close to the end now. Still got a few things. There's one great rule which you can use even if you're not busking. If you go to a strange city, you're in a strange town, the rule is head for the cathedral, right? All the street singers, we all go, we find out the cathedral, go to Cologne, go to the cathedral. Around the cathedral, you're going to find other street artists, and they'll be there playing, and you're going to find that the bars that they go to. Your objective, when you do that, your objective basically is to make friends. And you make friends really quickly. In 7 years, as a street artist, 100%, did nothing else for a living, right? I only ever spent one night out. and that was in Paris. I did one night out when I came out of a party about 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have a key to anywhere, I didn't have anywhere to go, and I slept on a park bench one night in 7 years, right? But the rule is, when you're a busker, then you're part of a network. It's always a small world, okay? Making friends. How do you make friends? Okay, let me ask you a question. Why is the ocean greater than the rivers? Why is the ocean greater than the rivers? What have we got?
The river goes to the ocean.
The rivers go to the ocean. Why do the rivers go to the ocean?
They come from uphill, they go downhill.
You got it. They go downhill. That's opening. Why is the ocean greater than the rivers? They come from uphill, they go downhill. The rivers are greater than the ocean because the ocean is lower. The rivers naturally flow into it. Okay? When you're on the street, nobody owes you that. Nobody owes you anything. Right? How do you make friends? It's really easy. It's really easy. Basically, it's about respect. It's about respect. If you treat, there are a few rules to respect. One is, ladies and gentlemen, if you treat people with respect, if you give people a reputation to live up to, that changes their behavior. So, when I was a street singer, when I'd go and play an Irish bar and I'd walk in there and they were all half drunk and there was a fight going on in the corner, I would be calling them, ladies and gentlemen, Astute lift. Bitches stilter. Ladies and gentlemen, total respect, a total respectful attitude. If you treat people with respect and you give people a reputation to live up to, if people think better of themselves, they behave better. It's real simple. If you want people to behave better to you, give them a reputation to live up to. Speak to them in a very respectful, a very honourable way. It's really simple. Okay? Simple rules of the street. If you want to survive and you want to get yourself a bed for the night, you're there to make friends. How do you make friends? By serving. It's called servant leadership. Okay? By putting yourself down and helping other people. Everybody, most people want to be really successful. Everybody wants to be successful in their own way. Help them to be successful. Do what you can to give them a good time. Serve other people. Learn to serve. You're working in a group, you be the one sometimes to go out and get the tea for everybody, or go and get the coffee for everybody. Servant leadership, learning to serve. Your job to facilitate is to help to make other people successful. If you make other people successful, they will naturally flow to you, and you will become the ocean. It's really easy. Okay? It's really easy. Okay, I've got a couple more things to say and then we'll finish off with a song, but a couple more things to say and then I'll be done, alright? I don't like listening to these long, boring lectures either. But there's one behaviour I'd like you all to practice today for yourselves. There's one behaviour I'd like you to do and to get out of a habit. And it's very simple. If you want to change your life, then do not start your sentences when you're talking to other people with the words, yes, but. Yama. Don't start your sentence with that. Try and start your sentence with, yes, and. If you catch yourself starting with, yeah, but, right? Give yourself a little smack on the face, right? Stop it. Okay? And try and start your sentences with yes, and. That's going to force you to be able to say yes, and to people. It means you're going to have to use these. You've got two of these and you've got one of them, right? Use these twice as much as that, okay? Listen to people. Paraphrase what people are saying. So, am I hearing you? Do I understand what you're saying? You're saying this, this, and this. Is that right? Yes, and. Well, yes, and then build on what other people are saying, rather than trying to automatically go into a Western cultural fight with them by starting with yes but, because yes but means no in a conversation, and it means automatically, I disagree, you're going to stand up and get on your back legs, and we're going to have a fight. A verbal one, a spiritual one, and so on. So I'm going to ask, that's the only behavior I'm asking you to work on today, right? Stop your sentences beginning with yes but, and start your sentences with yes and. Okay, so final advice. A key, a slurtle, is more important than money, it's more important than food, and it's more important than drink. Organize your own space. Look for space and get your space organized. When you're on your journey, when you're on your trip, make sure that you've got your space sorted out. And if you've got a key is really important. Without a key, you've got nothing. That's why I bleed for the refugees. Because the refugees they haven't got space. And it begins with space. Owning a little piece of space. Having a key to a little piece of space. Another piece of advice, this is really important. Always go to sleep near a toilet. Okay? It's very practical. Always go to sleep near a toilet. And the final thing I want to say to you is, your greatest strength, my young friends, is the ability to laugh at yourself. If you don't take yourselves too seriously, if you can bend with the wind, and you can take the piss out of yourself, if you can laugh at yourself, you've got a phenomenal resource there. You're going to live to be 80, 90, or even 100 years old. Okay? Your greatest strength is the ability to be able to laugh at yourself. Now, we can extend that. The outcome of wisdom, in my book, is cheerfulness. People who are really wise, and I'm thinking Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela, Barack Obama, they all have got this great cheerful kind of spirit. Cheerfulness is the outcome of wisdom. On the other hand, these guys who are, Adolf Hitler, possibly Donald Trump, people who take themselves so seriously, Jesus, man, be careful, eh? Be careful, in my view. So cheerfulness is kind of the outcome of wisdom in my book. Learn not to take yourselves too seriously. And my final message to you before we conclude.